Given your rights to a formal sentencing hearing, and you've agreed to the maximum sentence on all of these counts.
This is a stranger rape at gunpoint.
In 704, both counts are criminal sexual conduct with a minor second degree.
That this victim reported being abused by Father Ganley, and there was more than one sexual encounter.
The mother involved in the Amber Alert now has bonds totaling over $4 million. Zykia Duncan's twins, who were found in poor health, managed to escape from their home in Cyprus and ask neighbors for help. Meanwhile, Duncan and her boyfriend were taking the other 5 children to Louisiana, which led to the Amber Alert. Duncan appeared in front of the Harris County Jail for the first time. 40-year-old Zykia Duncan faces some truly heartbreaking accusations. Initially, police thought Duncan's 5 children were missing, but they were later found safe with relatives in Louisiana. Meanwhile, her twins, who managed to escape, had abuse allegations against them. That's what Duncan had to address in court, in the 338th District Court. Zykia Duncan remained silent as the state presented the details of the serious charges against her. She faces 2 felony assault charges and 2 aggravated assault charges involving family members. The accusations include severe mistreatment of her teenage twins. It's a very serious case, and since her arrest, Duncan has been recorded making phone calls from jail, admitting to deleting videos and images from her home cameras. Her lawyer has revealed that Duncan is currently pregnant again, bringing her total number of children to 9. Prosecutors say Duncan's other 5 children were taken to Louisiana around the time of the Amber Alert, received care there, and have since been brought back to Texas. Given the seriousness of the case, the judge has set the bond at $1 million for each of the felony assault charges and increased the bond for each aggravated assault charge to $1.25 million. Duncan's boyfriend, who is also allegedly involved, is awaiting extradition from Louisiana to Texas. Duncan's next court appearance is scheduled. It's important to note that if there's evidence of abuse or harm to her other 5 children, additional charges could be brought. Just over a month after Cleotha Abston was found guilty by a jury of unlawfully possessing a firearm during the rape and kidnapping of Alicia Franklin in 2021, the 40-year-old appeared in court again.
Given your rights to a formal sentencing hearing, and you've agreed to the maximum sentence on all of these counts.
Judge Lee Coffey revealed Cleotha Abston's new reality: 80 years in prison.
Attorneys and him and everyone saw sort of the writing on the wall, given his criminal history, given his institutional behavior over the years.
That behavior was discussed in court.
Tested positive on another occasion for drugs while in custody, refusing direct orders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incidents of indecent exposure, strong armed robbery.
The judge mentioned that Abston has had more than 30 infractions and has been in trouble multiple times.
Situations that the judge described tonight to justify the acceptance of the plea were related to prior sentences, so they have nothing to do with this behavior right now.
Abston's defense team stated that their client had little to say about what amounts to a life sentence.
There's 2 ways to handle a sentencing hearing. One is to agree with the maximum sentence. The other way is to have a circus, and we wanted to avoid the circus.
In the end, Abston sat looking down, appearing unfazed and even playing with his fingers, as the judge reminded him of the reasons why he would be confined for the next 80 years.
When this defendant placed a gun to her face, to her neck, told her, quote, "If you say anything or move, I'll kill you." This is especially troubling.
Judge Coffey had some strong words at the end, with Abston agreeing to the 80-year sentence. However, the matter is far from resolved, as he has been ordered to return to court. A teenager is receiving his sentence in court. Terry Berger Smith, now 17, will spend nearly 60 years in prison for a serious crime committed when he was just 14. In the courtroom, there are many people present, including the victim's family and the judge. Smith was sentenced to 41.25 years in prison, with lifelong probation upon release. Smith's lawyer requested a lighter sentence due to his age. Both Smith and his parents spoke in court. Smith expressed regret and a desire to improve his life, but the judge felt the gravity of the situation warranted a severe sentence.
Defense seeks a downward departure in juvenile sentences. Certainly the age would qualify it, but the facts of this case do not justify it.
Obviously, I would love for it to be forever, but in all reality, it is forever because he'll always be followed with that taint, just as my daughter will always be followed with what happened.
In June 2022, Smith attacked a 21-year-old woman as she was walking to work in Hollywood. He assaulted her, made threats, forced her into a sexual situation, and even called a friend and recorded parts of the attack. The courtroom had to watch those disturbing clips, which was incredibly difficult for everyone present. Smith kept his head down and eyes closed while the clips were shown. Smith pleaded guilty, which means he admitted to the crimes, leaving the judge to decide the sentence. He was sentenced to over 41 years in prison and has 30 days to appeal the decision. Another chapter in the Victory Christian rape case has concluded. The son and daughter-in-law of the megachurch founders, John and Cherika Daugherty, pleaded no contest in court. The judge issued a 5-year deferred sentence for failing to report child abuse. While a deferred sentence is not a conviction and the Daughertys made no admission of guilt, they will be under court supervision for the next 5 years. Additionally, they are required to submit a plan to 20 other children's organizations on how to better report and prevent abuse.
Does anyone want to make a statement to us at this point?
The attorney for John and Cherika Daugherty spoke on their behalf.
Teresa are very happy. They're very pleased with the judge's verdict. They respect the decision that he made.
The attorney stated that all the couple needs to do is follow the judge's orders.
At the end of this case, the case will literally go away like it never happened for them. It'll be wiped off their record.
The case began with an incident on the Victory Christian campus. Chris Denman is now serving a 55-year sentence. 3 employees, Paul Williamstein and Anna George, pleaded no contest for failing to report the situation and were sentenced to 30 days in jail with 1 year suspended. Harold Sullivan received a 1-year suspended sentence. A judge noted that the evidence against the Daughertys was less compelling.
Have lower-level employees who go to the Tulsa County Jail for 30 days and their bosses don't.
Tulsa County District Attorney Tim Harris disagreed with the judge's decision, but stated that he respects it.
You hear about incidences and somebody says, I'll take care of it. You have a burden to make sure that it was taken care of, and it wasn't.
The Daugherty's attorney said that the pair did everything they could. Ronald L. Wilcox, 61, formerly of Piscataway, has been sentenced for sexually assaulting a girl while he was serving at a church in Piscataway. In addition to his sentence, Wilcox has been fined $3,055 and must register as a Megan's Law offender.
On his behalf, you can have him speak before.
Mrs. Wilcox, Ronald's wife.
Okay.
I'm on behalf of my husband. We've been married for over 32 years. We've been together for at least 37. It's just been so hard that my husband's been in here. I just know that that's not his character. Even though the charge that he was charged with, it's just not his character at all. Just Ron and I have just been so close together, and this matter here is just devastating. But me and him always talking over the phone. We try to talk every day. And to get through this, so I just ask you, Your Honor, to just have mercy.
Now, as far as threatening anybody, that's not me. I don't do anything like that. I don't even threaten. My was stated that I threatened to hurt the family.
He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Thomas Ganley, who pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a girl 30 years ago, has been sentenced.
Over the 34 years of my priesthood, when this occurrence took place with a friend who I also was close to her family, and also then we crossed the line when we did. I never, of course, forced her, Your Honor, or hurt her, or tried to make her cooperate in anything against her will or anything at any time.
This was not an isolated incident at all. As the investigation revealed, this was years of abuse at the hands of Father Ganley. We're talking 1991 to 1994 that this victim reported being abused by Father Ganley, and there was more than one sexual encounter.
By your actions, Mr. Ganley, you took away the innocence, the freedom, the happiness that someone of teenage years should be experiencing. And while there's been references to the fact that this was some kind of consensual relationship. An adult man in his 30s cannot have a consensual relationship with a girl, a teenager who is 16, 17 years old. But it's worse because you weren't just an adult man, you were a priest who was in charge of youth being involved in the church and having a positive attitude towards the Catholic.
He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. A judge has ruled that Terry Shamick Tyler, a Rock Hill teen, was charged with sexually assaulting a woman at gunpoint. Tyler is also accused of stealing the woman's car following the assault.
Turns her around and puts a gun to her face and tells her to come with him. He then walks her out of the building and to the railroad track, and he took her car. The Rock Hill PD worked with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, and they were able, using their tag readers, to locate the vehicle that he had driven into Charlotte, and approximately 11 in the morning, they were able to locate the vehicle back in Rock Hill. The vehicle was being driven by the defendant, who was wearing the same clothing that the victim described her assailant wearing, except for his hoodie, which he had in close proximity to him. And there were other people in the vehicle that we believe are completely unrelated to this offense and were released. The facts are pretty egregious. They're particularly heinous. This is a stranger rape at gunpoint. This is literally every woman's worst nightmare.
At the time that this happened, he was living with his parents. However, they were away that weekend at a funeral, which is why when he got arrested, they were unable to be located.
Mr. Dunn, you convinced me as far as his flight risk, but I think he's an extreme danger with him, given the allegations of this case, and given that he was taken because of driving the victim's vehicle. So I'm moving that bond.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He will remain jailed without bond. Tory Deshaun Casey, 30, appeared with his attorney, Suzanne Klein, before Circuit Court Judge Gary C. Jagere, Jr. for sentencing. Casey had been found guilty by a jury of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. The victim, a 30-year-old woman, accused Casey of holding her at gunpoint, driving her to a secluded area in Richland, striking her in the head, and then sexually assaulting her. The victim described the traumatic experience.
This has been a huge, huge wake-up call for Tory Casey. Tory loves his family, his family loves him. He's been away from his family now almost a year. He's been in jail. He needs to get out of jail, and he needs to get a job to support his children. He now understands that, and he has a family that's going to support him in that, a very responsible family. They're going to help him with that. 25 years, 30 years, Your Honor, given the facts of this case and given Tory's criminal history, there's nothing proportionate about that. And we would ask the court to consider a sentencing that's well under the guidelines in this case, Your Honor. For that reason, Tory, with some education, some job training, is ready to get out and be a responsible member of society. And I would ask the court to consider sentencing him to well under the guidelines.
Thank you, Ms. Mr. Casey, what would you like to say before I pose sentence in your case?
I ain't got nothing to say.
All right. I've read the report. We've scored this on the sentencing guidelines, which I indicate are advisory after the Lockridge opinion. Listen to everyone in court. I read the sentencing memoranda. I read the attachments to the report, including the victim impact statement. I presided over the jury trial in this matter and listened carefully to the witnesses that testified. Among the more brutal of the CSCs that I've had the misfortune of presiding over my 10 years on the bench here, the defendant took the victim to a rural area and brutally beat and raped her. And there is a history of violence. Kalamazoo has no place for you here. When I look at what sentence is reasonable, and that's the question that the court has to answer, probably one in the middle of the guidelines is reasonable. What's the middle of the guidelines? That's 48 3/4 years at the minimum. Given your age, however, that could be viewed as excessive. In the end, when I balance all of these factors, it is the sentence of the court that you'll be confined to the Michigan Department of Corrections for a period of not more than 60 years, not less than 35 years. You have credit for 298 days. You'll have a chance to request a restitution hearing if you disagree with the amount, Mr. Casey.
Tory Deshaun Casey was sentenced to 35 to 60 years for first-degree criminal sexual conduct. A video shows Circuit Judge Thomas Wilson sentencing James Tingley on multiple counts of criminal sexual conduct.
Mr. Tingley, you've been molesting children for the last 40 to 50 years. From the trial, we know that there's at least 5 other victims than what we dealt with here. Mr. Tingley, basically you're a monster who has destroyed the innocence of numerous children. Unfortunately, they have to live with what was done to them the rest of their lives. The lucky ones will realize that they did nothing wrong, that they were just the victims of a sick pedophile. But it's going to have long-term impacts on all these little girls that were molested. But I think it's worth every penny to lock you up for the rest of your life. Therefore, on count 1, 25 to 50 years. Counts 2 through 4, 25 to 50 years. Counts 5 through 6, 20 years to 40 years.
He was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison for 1 count of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 25 to 50 years on 3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 20 to 40 years on 2 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, and 22 years of 2 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct. Lester Floyd Varnadore, 50, of York, South Carolina, was sentenced for sexually assaulting a girl in 2018 and 2019. Varnadore pleaded guilty to the charges and will be required to register as a sex offender after his release from prison.
703 and 704, both counts are criminal sexual conduct with a minor second degree. They carry up to 0 to 20 years. The state and the defense have negotiated for a 17 years incarcerated sentence. And the state's also asking that you impose a 25-year restraining order against the defendant in favor of the victim.
Most serious offenses under South Carolina law, have you discussed those terms with your lawyer?
Yes, I have.
You understand the fact that they're violent offenses, that's going to affect the amount of time you have to serve likely before you are eligible for early release. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Mr. Varnadore, the rights that we've just talked about, those are all trial rights. And if you want to plead guilty, you have to give them all up. So my question is, do you want to give up all those rights today to a jury trial with all the rights that come with it under our system and give up the rights and plead guilty?
Yes.
Do you still want to plead guilty to 2 counts of criminal sexual conduct with a minor of the second degree?
Yes.
Are you guilty of those 2 charges?
Yes.
Do you understand if you don't like my sentence, you have 10 days to appeal it?
Yes.
Is everything you've told me in court today been the truth?
Yes.
The sentence of the court is the same on both charges. Mr. Varnadore is committed to custody of the South Carolina Department of Corrections for a period of 17 years with credit for 346 days on both charges. Sex offender registration is required with this conviction, and these are concurrent sentences. I'm signing the restraining order.
Thank you.
He was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Former teacher Robert Goodlin, 76, was sentenced in Avenel after pleading guilty to charges involving inappropriate conduct with 2 students over a decade.
Mr. Goodlin, sir, is there anything you want to say to this court before I impose sentence on you?
I would just like to say that I'm sorry for anybody that I've inconvenienced, and I would like to say that I'm sorry for anything that I've done to hurt my family, my 3 children, my 8 grandchildren, and I want to get help myself that I can be a better American, a better citizen, and a better Christian. And I'm willing to take whatever's coming my way in order to be that type of a person. And continue on the life of being productive and had a very rough life. And going through a lot. Admittedly, I'm taking a dive. As you can see, I just had cancer. It's running all through my head. They can't control it. And like I said, I'm a strong person and I would deal with whatever. I want to say that I love my wife and she's been with me through this whole mess. And like I said, it's rough on the family and everything. And I'm very sorry. I want to show remorse to anybody that I've heard or done anything that I should have done. I have a few bad judgments, and that's pretty much it.
Although the defendant pled guilty to molesting 2 men who were students of his in the Elizabeth Public School System, the words he used today were inconvenience. I'm sorry for this inconvenience and my bad judgment. And he apologized to his wife, his family, his children, and his grandchildren. But there has been no apology to either of the men for which this indictment covers the abuse. And I think that speaks volumes. Mr. Goodland admitted that he was a teacher, that AM was in the 7th grade, and that Mr. Goodland performed oral sex on AM. Mr. Goodland acknowledged that he was sexually aroused and he had sexual fantasies about the 7th grader. When Mr. Goodland was asked if he believed his behavior was wrong, he said, yes, I knew it shouldn't happen. Again, however, he told the interviewer, the medical professional, that the victim, quote, encouraged it.
He was sentenced to 3 years to be served in the state's prison. This case revolves around Ruby Franke. Ruby had vlogged the mistreatment of her children on her YouTube channel. One of the children finally asked a neighbor to call the police, leading to her arrest on 4 counts of aggravated child abuse in August 2023. The 911 call revealed the chilling truth about the horrific conditions hidden until then.
Okay, and the phone number you're calling from? Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Okay. Is your door locked?
No, I'm sitting outside with him on the front patio.
Okay, cool.
And he asked us to call the police.
What's
so
his
he's
name?
very afraid. What's your last name? He's 12 years old.
Okay, and can you ask him his date of birth?
Can you tell me your birthday?
Okay, and are the neighbors out of their home, or is anybody looking for them that you can see?
No. Our homes are far enough away. I'm not sure. How did you get out of the house?
Porch. He went out.
He says he just left through the porch at the neighbor's house. Her name is Jody Hildebrand, and she lives 2 doors up the street.
Out here in Cayenne, the houses are far apart.
Yeah, out here in Cayenne, the houses are far apart, so he walked just under a block to get to our house. He rang my doorbell and asked me to call the police.
Does he seem to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
I don't think so, but he's very thirsty and...
Need an ambulance?
I don't think he needs an ambulance. I'll let the cops decide that, but his ankles are taped up and he won't tell us why.
Okay.
But he has duct taped around each ankle. Yeah, there's sores around them. I think there's a good chance he's been... Oh, and he has them around his ankles. I mean, his wrists as well. Okay, this boy has been... He needs... This kid has obviously been... I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Okay. Let's get the paramedics headed over that way, okay?
Oh, that's a good idea, too.
Let's see. Has he told you where his mom or dad are?
Haven't asked him that. Yeah. You know where your mommy is?
I really got you.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't matter, son. Do you know where your mom and dad are?
Well, actually, I don't know where my mom is, but I do know where my dad is. He's not anywhere here. No. Nowhere.
Okay. No, he doesn't seem to. He says he knows where his mom is, but
He doesn't know where his dad is.
That's correct.
I can know where my dad is.
Is his mom home?
He doesn't live.
He just says he doesn't live around here.
Okay. Is his
Yeah,
mom
we're good.
area?
Is your mom around here? Have you seen her lately? He doesn't know where she is right now.
Does he know his mom's name?
What's your mom's name? Ruby Franke? Ruby Franke is his mom's name.
Okay. How do you spell the last name?
Franke.
Franke.
Okay. And does she live in the area?
No, I'm not sure where she lives. He's trying to help us, but he's...
That's okay. We don't want to stress him out too much. The officers will go over all these questions with him anyway. I just want to stay on the phone with you until we get some help there, okay?
Yeah,
What's your name? Can you ask him if any other children were in the home he came from?
Okay. Was there any other kids up at Jody's house? Anybody else? No. How old? Yeah, this is the 30th of, or excuse me, the 29th of August.
It'll be the 30th of August.
10 and 14, and they're still at this house.
Are they tied up as well?
What's the deal with? Are they being held? Do they have wounds on them as well?
Nothing bad going on with us.
Okay.
It's just
Okay. So they're able to walk around the house and everything. Well, okay. He says everything's fine with them. Grain of salt.
Okay.
He says what's happened to him is his fault.
That's not a problem. That's sad to hear. They're coming to you as quick as they can, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Really well.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure.
He's fine. I've got him sitting here. My wife, he got him water and giving him something to eat because he's hungry, and I think the young man, he's hearing his stocking feet. So he escaped.
Well, I'm glad that he was able to make it to
They're on their way.
he could be safe. They should just be pulling up now. Let me know when they're with you, okay?
Will do. I hear a car, but they're not coming on the driveway. You did good. Enjoy that banana, okay?
Yeah, he
You
just
did the
came
right
a
thing.
few seconds ago, so he might be waiting for his partner. I'm not sure.
Is Jody up there right now? Okay. Jody Hildebrand is up there right now.
Okay.
So she may come looking for him here soon, but she's not gonna, obviously. I think we need the cops here as soon as possible.
I'm just asking where he is now.
Yeah, she's a bad lady. We didn't realize how bad.
Okay, let's see. I'm just asking where he is. Well, sounds like he's making a phone call real quick to his sergeant. He is going to head up.
Okay. All right. Well, if we have to take him inside the house, we will. We're just sitting outside right now because we have chairs out here and it was convenient.
That's okay. If anything, he's sitting out down your driveway and keeping an eye on the house. So if that's where you feel safe, that's where the child feels safe, and let's just stay where you're at.
Yeah, I think we're doing this. Yes.
Does he have anything with him?
But no, he's wearing a long sleeve shirt and shorts, and it's way too big for him.
Can you tell me what color the shirt and shorts?
Okay, the ambulance is here.
Okay.
So.
Are they with you?
No, they're just not getting out of the truck.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll let you go then. You did a great job.
Oh.
My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jody Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by her. I have never received wages from her or connections. Jody was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020 I paid her to be my mentor. Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Ivan City Police. Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pickuvit, Mike Pondoyo in Tobler, John Ward, D. Lewis, and Chief Flowers. You were the angels who came and saved my children. I especially want to thank Detective J. Bate. She plucked me out of a situation I didn't know how to get out of. And the moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom. You were not the controlling ones. I was. Thank you to the medical staff at Intermountain Hospital. Your skill, tenderness, and professionalism helped to heal my children. Jody and I inflicted the injuries, not the hospital. Thank you to DCFS, the Children's Justice Center, Judge Basil, and other key adults. You've gathered my children under your wing and offered them love, compassion, encouragement. You were not the ones who were doing the brainwashing. Thank you to my Bishop Tom Hawks and my state president Jim Nelson for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. So much pain and suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. I was the one who was deceived, not you. Thank you to the Washington County Prosecutor's Office, Ryan Sham, the legal assistants and discovery clerks. Eric Clark, you exemplified to me how justice and mercy are meant to coexist. My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me. Thank you to my attorney Lamar Winward and his staff. I would not be where I am today without them. Thank you to Randy Kester for your limitless energy in healing my family. My dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down. Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question. Yet, when I desired to return as the prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran out to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented. Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy. It really wrapped around my heart in a knot I'll never be able to undo. To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently rowing you to safety. I can see now over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I would never launch into darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and light was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I will stop crying. You're hurting your tender souls. You are each so precious to me. I'm sorry. My choice to live in fear of the world has created a great vulnerability and a blind spot for me, where I have broken hearts and I've caused people to suffer and I have betrayed sacred trust. Watching my community respond to my charges with justice and mercy and grace and love is all the more evidence to me of how wrong I've been. This world is full of really good people. And finally, I'm sorry for twisting God's word and distorting his doctrines. My greatest desire is to stand in his court someday spotless and confident. And Judge Walton, I know that standing before you today is a necessary step towards that end. Thank you to you and your staff for facilitating my opportunity to take accountability and to answer for my charges. I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue unraveling all of the misinformation I have believed and bought, swallowed, and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time.
Ms. Franke, the last thing I do need to tell you is that you have only 30 days to file or to perfect an appeal of any errors of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that within 30 days, you will lose your right to appeal. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney on appeal and to have one appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Restitution, as agreed by the parties, will remain open for a period of 8 months. Any of the parties can bring that matter back before the court within that period of time. Anything else? Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making. By any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you children, and the results have been tragic. It's what happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate. The court imposes 4 1 to 15-year sentences to be again served consecutively for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The last thing I do need to tell you is that you only have 30 days to file or perfect an appeal of any error of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that, you will lose your right to appeal. That has to be filed in writing and again within 30 days. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney and to have an attorney appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Thank you. We're in recess.
Thank you, Ron.
This case centers on Anthony Todt. In December 2019, in Celebration, Florida, a community planned by Disney, Todt took the lives of his wife and 3 children. Shortly after, the police linked him to the tragic event and decided to press charges. Detectives used various methods to uncover the true nature of his actions.
My name is Cynthia Kopko. I am Megan's aunt and godmother to all her children, Alexander, Tyler Bear, that's what I called him, and Princess Zoe and Breezy. I just want to say that Megan lived her life. She had lots of empathy for everyone. Thank you. Lots of empathy for everyone. She had a giving heart. If her neighbors were sick, she would make them soup and bring it over. The kids were very, very talented. They played the piano. They would go, for years, they would go to convalescent homes and play recitals for them on special holidays. And they were in a lot of musical staged things. And when Alec wanted to learn how to play the violin, as they were learning, and Tyler Bear wanted to learn to play the folk guitar, they would still bring those instruments and play them for the people in the convalescent homes while they were learning them after their piano playing. They were very much, I had so many neighbors in the condo tell me how wonderful the boys were and Megan was, and how the boys would babysit and walk their dogs when they were away. And they trusted them fully. Megan and the dog and the children would go on for several walks. And she was very much involved in the academy school that the children went to, and did lots and lots. She was a physical therapist too, and did lots of projects and how all the fingers work with the tendons. And she had made strings so they could see how our hands move for a learning experience. And, I got them a microscope because I'm a nurse, so they could see different things in the microscope. They were just fun-loving. And all the children, I just have to say something about the communities that were affected. All the children in Celebration that they played with, they had a beautiful basketball hoop, which was donated to the children. And they're going to make a little monument thing out of it. The children would ask their fathers, "Are you going to kill me at some time? Do you think you're going to kill me?" Because the children were, Megan's kids were just so fun-loving and giving and loved all their friends and they came to the house. They did all kinds of things together. Went in the little playground areas and climbed things and slid and played games. And that's a lot of trauma for a child to ask their father, "Are you going to kill me too?" So they have to deal with those things now, that community. He crushed my parents. To the children, my mother was the great-grandmother. And they just loved going over there. My mom is 95 years old. And, we watched them grow up. And my father is 97. He has PTSD from World War II. Love the kids. They would take Megan and Tony on vacations just like family is family. But for a horrific tragedy like this to happen is a nightmare. It's been 2.5 years. I used to take Megan and the kids all on different vacations to Disneyland, and each child each year got to pick where they wanted to go, and we would go. We'd pack up and everything. Tony crushed his whole family by doing this. Everybody was mortified. We had a tough time dealing with it. I guess pretty much that's about it. But Megan was the gentlest person. She wouldn't even kill a bug, and she was just so kind, full of empathy. And I had warned Megan many times when we used to have things called girlfriend days, where it would be my mother, Megan, myself, and the kids, and we would say, we're going out for the day and we're going to get shoes for all the kids and we'll have lunch. But Megan would get called and she goes, oh, that's Tony. And I said, don't worry about it. We're in the middle of a conversation. 5 minutes later, he would call back again. And she said, oh my gosh. And then she would decline. And then he called me over and over just to get a hold of us to see what we were doing, where we were. And I picked up my phone and I said, stop harassing us. We're having a girlfriend day. You'll be the first to know if we're having any trouble. You'll be the first one we call, so that we could enjoy our day. And April of 2019, I had a talk with Megan because Tony had put on tremendous amount of weight over, a short period of time. And I said, Megan, I'm worried about Tony because he's put on so much weight. I would love to offer him to get ultrasounds of his carotids to make sure there's no blockage, and also of his heart and the coronary arteries to make sure there's not plaque or anything. And he always complained about his legs hurting. So I said, perhaps maybe he has a aortic aneurysm, which is like a weakening of the wall. Maybe he's not getting enough blood circulation. Because when he would sit down, he would just totally fall asleep. I hope I'm not boring you. But we loved Megan and the kids very, very much. And all I have is pictures and memories like hold in my heart. And my parents miss them, and his parents miss them, and our families miss them very, very much.
This was a personal catastrophe in everybody's life in my family, including myself. I maintain my innocence. I provided for my wife, did everything I could for my wife. She was progressively sick over the years. There were days which were worse, days which were better. She was kept on a pedestal from me. My kids I did everything for them. The weight gain, Ms. Kopko has said, was because I negated myself. 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night because I would be treating my wife, doing for my wife, flying back and forth. I appreciated her medical concerns, and the reason why I would call so much is because Megan would have bad days, and I just needed to know she was okay. It wasn't a control factor. It wasn't any kind of scoping things out or whatnot. It was my fear that my fear that something was wrong with her, and I just needed to hear her voice making sure she was okay. I loved my wife. I loved my children. I was not there the night my children died. The kids and my wife woke up the Friday before all this happened. We got in a disagreement, and I begged her to go get help because she screamed at my son because he didn't do the pot, clean the pot. He let it soak per my instructions. This has been a progressive history since the miscarriage, her anger issues, her frustration issues, and it was directed mostly at me. And I took it. It's okay, because she held me partly responsible for getting her sick initially because I insisted she went to the hospital. I told her after she finally decided to schedule a doctor's appointment on the Thursday after Thanksgiving, she canceled it. I found that out the night before. When she screamed at Tyler, the Friday the 13th, I told her that she has to the end of the month to see a doctor because she went to the alternative and spiritual and all this other route. Or I would get her aunt and my sister involved. After that, she once again held it quiet in public Okay? She was very good at keeping it from the public. We went to the recital that they did for the convalescent home on the 13th. I was walking on eggshells. I don't like upsetting my wife. My wife was primary and foremost in my life, especially after she got sick. Finally, whatever day it was, and I apologize, I do not have the days because I was on a winter break. I went up to her one night and said, listen, I haven't treated you in a couple days. Just allow me to treat you. Allow me to work on you. And I tried a couple different techniques. As I was working, she was worried about me not loving her anymore. And I told her, no, the footprints, remember the footprints poem? Sometimes you don't think I'm there, but I'm the one carrying you. I will do whatever you need to get ready. That's why I've supported you. She knew I didn't believe in this light and this other religion that she went into, but I supported her because that's what a husband does. Everybody has a freedom to choose their own religions. Everybody has a freedom to choose their own acts. She fell asleep, very rested comfortably. I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs. Okay?
Judge Carson doesn't have the authority to overturn the jury.
No, I understand, but I need to let him know that everything was okay when she woke up the next morning. I kept the kids out there to keep outside, to keep her nice and stress-free. That's the only reason I left to go to the condo that night, because everything was good and there was an opportunity to get things done. As Ms. Kopko said, I fell asleep at a drop of a hat. I have this weight off my shoulders that my wife was feeling great. I went to charge the phone, and I fell asleep. I woke up afraid to be on eggshells or the doghouse again because we just reconciled. I ran back because I could not get the car started. It turns out my seat was too far back. And after that, everything happened. And I lived nothing but a nightmare. Every single suicide attempt, every single nightmare would come out. I relived every nightmare, would wake up and would see, I was like, oh, that's a nightmare. Would see my family dead. I progressively tried to kill myself over and over and over again because I wanted to be with them. This altar they speak of was a homeschooling project from the week prior. That's all that was. There was no religious seance or anything whatsoever. It was nothing but a homeschooling project that made my wife happy because we were talking about Egyptian pharaoh and pyramids. That's all we were talking about and what they bring in the afterlife.
This is not helping you from this progress on, so I encourage you to.
I'm sorry. I loved my wife. I loved my kids. They were first and foremost in my life. I did not do this. I provided for my wife, provided for my kids, did everything I could. I understand the jury came back. I understand evidence wasn't heard. I don't remember that time, from the time I fell down the stairs to the time I woke up in the jail. I loved my kids. I love my kids every day. It's only recently that I just stopped crying myself to sleep. My kids and my wife were everything to me. They were the center of my universe. When I came home, I was shattered. I appreciate you listening to me, sir. And I know you're in your situation. I did not do this. Thank you for listening to me, sir.
Ultimately, the judge gave a fair sentence to Anthony Todt, ensuring the victims received justice.
Any additional witness or testimony?
No, sir, Judge Carson.
Thank you. Court has been present during the presentation of evidence throughout the entirety of the trial. A jury has unanimously determined, after listening to the evidence presented, that you, Anthony John Todt, are a destroyer of worlds, that you destroyed the world of your 4-year-old daughter, Zoe Elizabeth Todt, that you destroyed the world of your 10-year-old son, Tyler John Todt, that you destroyed the world of your 13-year-old son, Alexander John Todt, that you destroyed the world of your wife, Megan Denise Todt. The jury has unanimously determined that you murdered each of them with premeditation based on the evidence presented in this room. As to count 1, first-degree murder of Zoe Elizabeth Todt, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to count 2, for the premeditated murder of your son, Alexander John Todt, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to count 3, for the premeditated murder of your son, Tyler John Todt, you are sentenced to life in prison. As to count 4, for the premeditated murder of your wife, Megan Denise Todt, you are sentenced to life in prison. Not one of those lives was less valuable than the others. Those sentences will be imposed consecutively. You will be adjudicated guilty as to each count. For the murder of the family dog, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to the maximum sentence consecutive, which is 1 year in the county jail. You will get credit for any time that you have already served. Madam Clerk?
819 days.
Any costs will be reduced to judgment. The court will order restitution, reserve as to amount pursuant to statute. You have 30 days from today's date to appeal this judgment and sentence. If you wish to do so, you must do it in writing. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. You'll be transferred to the Department of Corrections to serve your sentence. Anything further, State? Anything further, defense, at this time?
No, Your Honor.
That will conclude the trial and sentencing process. The State of Florida versus Anthony John Todt has concluded.
Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.